It's so good to see all of you. How's everyone doing? How was your long weekend? Mwah! It's good to see you. Let's see if I can bring her on. If it will let me. All right, invite to join. Here we go. Since I've done a live, I have to remember how to do it. Welcome back, Nurse Megan.
Hello.
So we're just giving people a few minutes to join. I've had it on for a couple seconds, but we'll go ahead and give them another couple minutes to get past 7. And it takes Instagram a minute to kind of be like, hey, there's a live.
No problem.
We'll give it some time. Looks like we've already got a few on. Make sure you guys have your questions about carpal tunnel, or we're happy to hear you share your experiences. Those of you that have already been through the surgery, we definitely want to know what to expect from a nail professional point of view. Nurse Megan is going to give us the medical point of view and the technical details, and she also has experienced carpal tunnel, so she's coming at us from a couple different angles so that you can get a nice, well-rounded point of view. And you can follow my carpal tunnel journey on the blog, and the links are in the bio for the first 3 blogs that are up on that. So, is anyone going through the carpal tunnel process currently? Just stick up a little hey emoji, or however you feel about it. Because it's not terribly amazing. I'm getting more shots in my wrist Friday. I finally made an appointment. I did the little reach out to them online so that they call you to make the appointment so that you're not trying to get through. It was fabulous.
It works great.
Yes, I love that feature. All right, it looks like it is a few minutes after 7, so we will go ahead and get started. I am going to record this, so if you're watching it as a recording, either on Instagram or YouTube, or wherever you see it, feel free to leave questions, and if it's a question I can't answer by myself, give me a day or 2 to consult with Nurse Megan and get back to you with an answer. I try to never leave questions unanswered. So if you do find yourself messaging me and your question doesn't get answered, sometimes social media has hidden folders where they put inquiries. Just reach out to me through a different method. So Megan, the logical place to start off is warning signs. We've all been there. You wake up and your hands are kind of asleep, or you're sitting and watching TV, or you're driving and your hands are tingly, or you're trying to work on a client and your pinky is tingly, or your thumb is that shooting, screeching pain. What are some of the warning signs that we should be looking for? Just kind of the general beginning hints of carpal tunnel.
So you nailed it. It's the beginning of those fingers. The fingers, the palm, you start to get that tingling, you get a tight sensation, and then it's, ooh, I got that tingling. It feels like it fell asleep. That's the beginning for when mine. So mine actually started clear back. I was only 13 years old when mine started. And that's exactly how I described it to my mom. I said, it's like my hand keeps falling asleep, but it's only, and I was able to pinpoint it. And so here's a fun fact straight off the beginning. These 3 fingers here are the ones that have to do with the carpal tunnel. These are your classic into the palm here. This little part, I don't know, you want to call it your chicken thigh part of your thumb. That part is where the tenderness typically is in everybody, because the nerve that we're talking about runs right here through this wrist. Mm-hmm. And then that's, so that anybody that's seen that, that's right where Holly was getting her injections. But that pain and tingling goes into these. These are your clampers. Think about it, your claw clamps. It is that tingling quick, but you lay your arms down to your sides, you get that blood flow quick right back, and that's usually your beginning. You can always usually relieve it initially, but as you go, the longer you sit, the longer you wait, it takes longer and longer for those to open back up. But normally, as soon as you drop them down to your side, that sensation goes away. You're driving, that's your dominant hand on the steering wheel, and you're sitting like this. And then you put that one, oh, got to lower it down. A lot of people, you'll see the ladies, they drop their hand between their legs. It's just got to be real quick just to get that pressure off, because that pressure is usually always at a bit motion. And then for a lot of you guys, you know, you're holding your brushes so tiny, you got that pinched motion, and then that pinched motion you can see right through here. And then therefore that is, you can see where it turns white, because actually you think you're gripping so hard, but really you're gripping through here. So then that is always, that's where mine started. It was, if I could push right here, it was, it's relief. And I wouldn't need to drop my hand, and then I could hide it
better. Yeah, I find myself doing this a lot throughout the day to wake my hands back up. And on this hand, it's like gotten all the way up into my elbow. So I'm like doing this, trying to wake it up. So super fun. What are some of the more advanced warning signs? Like if we kind of credited, oh, that tingling, I must just be tired today. Like I now am to the point I wake up with my hands asleep. And so if we're kind of ignoring those signs and crediting to other things, what are some slightly more advanced warning signs?
Your advanced is just like you said, it's you're waking up with it. It is affecting your everyday tasks no matter what. There's nothing you can do as a click slip. You have to let that hand dangle for quite a while. It's not just a quick open my palms, you know, to stretch those out, get them stretched real tight, and you get relief. It's when you have to do, you know, oh, I need to rub that for a second. And for some people, it's all of a sudden you're finding a reason, oh, I need to check that. Well, really, you're checking your phone. You're not really checking your phone. You're expanding your hands open. You're coming up with excuses. The advanced also goes into your grip strength. You start to drop things. You go to pick up, or you, for instance, everybody knows, you know, you do my nails. I'm not sure if everybody knows that, but that's.
Yes, this is my Pinterest client.
I have bottles. And that's how initially when I was like, oh, hey, I think something's going on here. The bottles, it's just a hard one. You come up with an excuse of why the bottle's hard to get open. You guys open those bottles 10,000 times a day. It's the same color you used the client before, but oh man, I still can't get it open. And that is your initial, oh, this is time for something to happen. Now, it's super advanced. I can speak on this personal side. Mine got very advanced. At my job, I couldn't hold things at all. I was dropping things multiple times a day. I was going through cups. I wasn't allowed to even drink out of a coffee cup at my house because I would drop them. I would have to use two hands to even lift a stove, something off the stove. It's your fine motor. You're safe picking up the baby, you know, you're all of that type of things. But it's just that fine motor to where I used to work in an OR. And so, you know, helping mop at the end of a case, I couldn't grip the mop handle. One time that when everybody realized something was going on, I let go of the mop handle because I didn't realize I let go, and I smacked myself. And you don't have that. Even though all I did was pick up that mop, it was even one simple little grip. And oh man. And then that tingling, sometimes all of a sudden you're just sitting there, your hands are wide open, there's no reason for it, and that tingling comes. That's when you probably are a little more advanced. More than likely you've known for a while things are going on. You might not have admitted it at that point, but that is the point. Like, it's full-blown red flag. You need to go, you need to figure out what's going on. But everybody gets there. Even if it was later, oh, hey, I'm just trying to buy time. You know, you've been getting the shots. You're still going to tingle. It's still going to happen, but hopefully we can get you somewhere so that you can get it done before it's permanent. Like I had spoke in one of the blog posts, mine, I did have permanent damage.
Yeah, we're super good at denial because as most of us are booth renters, salon owners, etc. And so time away from the nail table is not getting paid at all. And, you know, so that is a complication that it's kind of like, well, if I don't admit I have carpal tunnel, then I don't have carpal tunnel. So then I don't have to miss any days at the nail table and I have to not make money. However, if we ignore it for too long and that damage becomes permanent, now what?
So your damage is now permanent. You have already had your surgery. You are past your 2-month window. Typically after carpal tunnel, you don't need physical therapy, but your surgeon might have said, hey, let's go have a physical therapy consult just to make sure that there's nothing extra that we can do. You will still get significant relief from the surgery itself. But more than likely, now we're going to go into these fingers. These fingers are the ones that go into that elbow. That elbow, so that one is ulnar tunnel. or the whole ulnar nerve, it goes up and runs in between your elbow. Hence, there's Megan's scar. Megan had to have hers done too because, I procrastinated too long. And I was the one, I was trying to build up time. I just started a new job. I couldn't take it off. But so now that is something that can happen. And if in the beginning with mine, I thought it was all carpal tunnel related, even though I had those same feelings in these fingers and it would travel, it was just my carpal tunnel. So I didn't admit to what was going on. Well, had to have another surgery a year later. And that was to open that one up. That one's big surgery. That one, if you wait too long on that, that is ulnar entrapment potentially. And that goes into a big surgery. You have to go through 12 weeks of physical therapy. You have to learn how to reuse your entire fingers, your hand, the whole side. But if you get that done right away, that my surgeon said right away, he said, Megan, you can't push this one off because there's no way I could take 12 weeks off. I just, a year ago I took off a month from my job because I couldn't be in a sterile environment with an open incision. So I took a month off for that, so I didn't hesitate. When it got into them pinkies and that ring finger, that was a no-go. So then that sensation runs, but typically that doesn't affect you until you hit that elbow. But that one is the tennis elbow, something that's similar. It's the same process though, but so still to this day, we're going to go backtrack here. I don't have fine fingertip motion. I can do this to my fingertips and I can't feel it. If you were to press somebody that has, say, you're doing stuff, needles, nails, I would feel a needle go in, but if I was to push on something sharp, I really wouldn't feel it. I don't even feel if somebody snaps my fingers. I don't pass the initial carpal tunnel test technically, but once we do my nerve test, my carpal tunnel is stable, but I just never regained that sensations. In fact, I've burned my fingertips on pans and I don't even know that it was burnt until I seen the blister.
And that's just from letting the carpal tunnel go too late.
Yep. So my tunnel, when they cut you open for the surgery, all they're doing is expanding this in here. And I didn't get enough expansion because my tissue is essentially it's too strong, too thick. So my tissue had already scarred even though it hadn't been separated yet.
Oh, fun.
Yep, exciting.
That's why we shouldn't pretend that these things don't exist. As much as we like to stick our head in the sand and just do nail art.
Right. So I also want to backtrack that with just because you got carpal tunnel symptoms that you think, don't let Google diagnose you. Don't let us diagnose you. It actually, you always want to get your thyroid level checked. I was actually diagnosed with carpal tunnel when I was 13. And it was a horrific thing. The hand surgeon that we went to the normal doctor, and, a 13-year-old, there's no way she could have that. And so got to a hand specialist and he, oh no, she's got it. And I've never seen anybody at that time. He was only 4 years from retirement. He'd never seen anybody my age that had carpal tunnel as bad as I did. And so we learned all these years later with everything medically that I've had wrong with me, my thyroid is actually the reason for my carpal tunnel back then. And then of course, even though it triggered it, it was still that repetitive use that contributed to the thickening, which that side you can't avoid. But there's also a side job that I had. So I used to work in a restaurant, which I'm sure many of you have done a hustle before. You have,
Right.
You were a waitress, you were a hostess, you were something in the restaurant world, which back then, we weren't doing it on computers. We were handwriting that stuff out. And that is what was my contributing thing to video games is another one that's big now because they're holding, they consistently hold their hands. I didn't have that when I was younger, but they finally did confirm all these years later that my thyroid was my precursor. So it's essentially with that thyroid. So if you get that twinge right away and you're able to get in somewhere, you can even get thyroid testing done online where they have it mailed to your house. If you don't have insurance, you can just pay for it out of pocket. At least then And thyroid medicine is on the cheaper drug list. It does go, they do, depending on your dosing and stuff, but so you can potentially relieve your symptoms just by the thyroid side alone.
Mm-hmm. And thyroid affects a lot of other things. Like that's a big building block to your health. It's like boom, boom, boom. So if you're having those twinges, if you can't lose weight, even when you try dieting, a lot of those things are connected to thyroid.
Absolutely.
So just a little side note there. And one of my first things at my initial visit was braces. So I got these beautiful sleeping accessories. Let me put the one on my hand that doesn't have the watch on. And so what is the point of these lovely sleeping accessories that they possibly are going to give them at their first appointment and tell them, hey, you need to be sleeping in these, not just going to the chiropractor and getting your wrists aligned and calling it good?
Oh, I have lovely breaks.
It's hard to sleep in this when you're
It,
used to sleeping like this.
it sure is. So inside of these braces, I'm pulling one out, one at my house. The good braces have a little metal, little shank kind of thing. So if you can see this little curve here, that part that's going to go on that palm. And that's going to put you in the alignment that you should be in to sleep. So little side note, you can start your brace journey before you even go to a specialist. This can also save you time. These braces that I have right in front of me here, this is the big Mongo. Don't mind this. My husband just had carpal tunnel surgery, so this is one of his. So this one has this little foam pad in it. This one is meant to have a cushion, a very bulky to keep it. Think of it as a tennis ball cut in half. It also has that steel shank that's in it. So when you're sleeping, this keeps them not only, I have to force my fingers together. So it's that little piece is keeping you so your fingers are open.
Okay.
Completely open to allow that blood flow. And then you can see that big old curvature here. And that's that steel shank, but this one has that big old bubble. So since you can get these readily available, both of these ones were cheapest on the good old Amazon is where both of these ones come from. Walmart is another one. It's also, you know, if you want to get it now, you don't want to wait for Amazon. Also get them at Walmart. This model here, this one is a little bit extra. Sure that I point this out. This one has a little thumb piece on it. This thumb piece in here, I just tried to get it out, but I couldn't. It has its own steel shank. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull that thumb. So this hand instantly, my thumb, when I extend, curves inward. This hand hasn't had carpal tunnel yet. So that is a long-term effect of prolonged carpal tunnel. So we're going to pull it back. Therefore, that makes this smaller to allow that nerve to completely expand. All of these are good options. The best one, nighttime, if you can find one with that cushion, is that one because it's going to keep you open like this. Kind of there. But by doing that, it completely opens this in the curvature of what it will be when they were able to split that. Okay. You can also buy yourself more time where anytime where you can, you know, everybody knows you have it. In between clients at the salon, when you do have lunch, throw it on. It's okay if it gets dirty. It's yours. It doesn't matter. Go eat your lunch with it if you get a lunch.
Safe. I like, you know, they don't all take lunch.
No, but you also, in order to buy time, this is what I had to do at my job. When it came time for general wipe down and cleaning, you're not dealing with your intricate, you know, your normal kind of instruments that you guys use and your tools. You can throw a bigger glove on that, do your wipe down, that type of stuff for your disinfection. So at least you're getting at 1 to 3 minutes in it, because even that little bit of relief can buy you time through the next client. So hopefully you won't have that struggle as bad trying to open the polished bottles.
Megan is my client at the end of my 12-hour Thursdays. And so there's times I'm like, can you open this polish for me, please? And now that I get the shots, it's like, I can do it. So
things that I asked once she was back in the salon after her shot, I'm like, so can you open it?
Right. It's very handy to have a nurse as a client. What should they absolutely not ignore? Like, what is a huge red flag? You're going to lose function of your hands if you do not wake up and pay attention right now.
Once you drop that object and your hand doesn't go back to normal.
Thanks,
and it stays just like this, you know, oh, you've been writing, and then all of a sudden that's pulled out, and it's, you have to manually push into your little chicken wing part to get those to open. Anytime it's bringing you to tears, because we all know that y'all tough as nails, because we can't do it, we don't have time. Okay. If it's bringing you to tears and you can't hide it anymore, you did have to just admit to that client that, hey, I cannot get this bottle open. That is, you need to go. You need to start your process. If you're not already in the braces from Walmart, Amazon, you know, wherever you're choosing, you need to be in them braces and get that thyroid level checked. Because, hey, maybe it's not as bad as what you think. Maybe you don't need surgery. Get the level checked. And then something else that can help before you need to get there is Epsom salt. You can do your Epsom salt soap in the morning before you head to the salon. In the event you do have a break between clients, keep a little bit with you in your bag. That helps with the inflammation side.
Mm-hmm.
And in the event that a little bit of Tylenol, a little bit of ibuprofen, if you can take those, doesn't give you a little bit of relief, start the process. But your oh no is when you get stuck and you're having to manually force that back open. And you're constantly sitting there, needing that, trying to get that little chicken wing thumb to feel better. And the full test, you keep, all of a sudden you keep your hands up or out in front of you and you're numb.
Mm-hmm.
Start the process consistently.
Yeah. Right now because my arms are asleep. I'm going Friday for my shots, Megan. I'll talk to them Friday about surgery.
Oh.
So speaking of surgery, how do you figure out a good surgeon? I was lucky enough to be able to ask you, hey, who should I go to? For those that don't have a personal referral to a surgeon, what's a good way to find a surgeon?
The best way, I have worked with general ortho surgeons who are kind of the jack of all trades surgeons when it comes to ortho. They do, those are typically your local kind of hospitals. Those are great, great facilities. But when you're going into the quest, when, maybe you can see them from the initial, see if they can give you injections while you're looking, because even though you started with them does not mean you have to do your surgery with them. And then personally, and on my professional side, I would really prefer to go to a hand specialist. You want to go to somebody that's what they do. These are my hands. These are what makes me my money. I need to be able to use these. I need other people to be able to use my hands too. My hands matter to you. And by that, hand surgeon, you want a hand surgeon. You can go on, do your Google. But personally, I want somebody who specializes in their field, because what if once you get in there, I am that one patient they'd never seen, they found something in there. A hand specialist themselves is the one that would be able, you started off with one, just whoever could get you in quick. That's okay. And any help's better than no help.
Mm-hmm.
But just don't hesitate with the hand specialist. And a lot of times you can get into them way quicker because they don't have hip surgery scheduled. They don't have, that's all they do. So you don't have to keep with all the other procedures too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't had to wait more than a couple weeks to get in when I call for appointments for mine, because I go to that specific hand surgeon and he has a PA. So between the two of them, it doesn't take long to get on the schedule.
I can also recommend a little side note that can help in the event. So typically for these places, you do need a referral from your normal, doctor, primary care. But some of them, even in the area that we live in, we have a great access within an hour 15-minute drive from us. The ortho that I went to myself, they have an ortho walk-in. So this is how we did my husband's. My provider, getting our normal provider in, COVID was so bad, and I felt bad taking up a slot. These people are sick with COVID. I don't want to take a slot because my husband just finally decided to tell me he thinks he has carpal tunnel. So we went in through the ortho walk-in at our hand surgeon's office. He's a general ortho. He sees everybody, and then he gets them into which specialist they need to go to. And by doing that, we were in with the hand surgeon in less than a week, and my husband had never even seen him. So they started process for us by doing that, and it was the same fee as a normal walk-in office. It wasn't, even though it was a ortho PA, we didn't have to pay for a specialist visit. It was, since it was the ortho, we started it within a week. We had an appointment and we started the process, versus at that time my PCP had a 3-week wait before they came in. So the option to
if that's not an option for them, is it potentially something they could do via telehealth?
Yes, that would be, the only other thing that they would recommend potentially is that you had a physical therapist maybe eval in the process. And you can also, here's a side note again, you can get into physical therapy typically without needing a PCP. You can go in for an evaluation, and they can't diagnose, but they can do some of the evaluation process. So then you already have the fuel you need then, and you can call your telehealth and be able to get it in through that. The testing is what you need for the diagnosis. And then, but it would actually start, and I think quite a few of the telehealth now or the teledoc type stuff can at least start the process for you.
Awesome. And we could ideally do that like in between laundry loads while we're at home on our day off and all that fun stuff. What can we expect after surgery, especially for those that maybe need to do both hands? Should we do both hands at once to save like on anesthesia and all that jazz?
Okay, I will be completely frank with you. We're just going to get down to the nitty with it. You can do hands, but you have to have somebody that's in your home that could do things for you if you needed to them. You can't, you got somebody, oh, hey, I need help in the bathroom. I just thought you need somebody that would be able to do that for you.
Okay.
You still have sensation. Everything's going to feel weird. But I mean, your fingers are still going to work. You're still going to be able to open them. But that pressure for doing anything, as far as like taking care of yourself wise, maybe a little too much. But if you have somebody that's totally willing, it's not going to hurt you one bit. They will kind of advise, your doctor's going to want to see your personality to see if they think that you'd be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I did mine, so I need carpal tunnel. I have it in both. My right hand's the only side that's done. But I was only 23 when I had my surgery. And I was too scared to, what if it doesn't work? And so I didn't want to do both. It was offered to me because of how bad my loss of function was. But this is also a potential positive for you. Sometimes, even though it is both hands, my surgery's now been all the way back to 2013 when I had mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to, a couple shots post, since I wasn't trying to compensate so much, I have full use of them. Even though I still need that other side. So would I do both? I mean, I'm okay with myself. And if I need help, I'm going to tell you I need help. Hey, I need somebody to help me. My family knows. But if you have that buddy or somebody, close within your family unit or somebody that can stay with you, I would not do them both, just for that side of is you really kind of feel kind of helpless.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that did do both, personal friends, and she needed help. And it was just, her meds did real good for her for the first 3 days, and because they do a local block in for your surgery, and she had no use. She had no use. I got a couple calls because she had instances where she had to pick up cups like this and walk with them because she couldn't do anything. Drinks had to be under X amount of ounces because so I mean, you can totally do it. I'm not gonna tell you not to. They're not gonna tell you not to. But you might have that same thing like what happened to me, to where after a few more injections after my surgery, I haven't needed mine done. And I mean, carpal tunnel doesn't just get better, folks. It stays there. But right. I just did evaluation probably 6 months ago, and I am to the point of where beginning stage carpal tunnel would be for people, and I'm okay, essentially.
If both of them are severe enough and you have a support system, how many days are you helpless if you do both?
You start gaining, let's see, your local injection that they're going to give you lasts anywhere from 6 to 72 hours. It just depends on how you metabolize the drug. So I would plan on that support system being with you for at least 3 days. They can run to the store, all that. It's fine. I mean, if you're one of those that has planned situations throughout the day, you would be fine without needing somebody with you. But it would be, make sure that you have something for your drinks, that type of stuff, so that you're not, and food, you don't want to try and carry a plate of food. You're just going to end up with a disaster, and then you're going to end up bawling because you can't clean it up yourself. So if you
it sounds like you've been there.
Then you would, I would say at least the 3 days, and then you will be, it's going to hurt. But the biggest thing to remember after your surgery is you're not going to break it, but it's going to hurt. My husband just went through his let's see, we're 3 months out now. And he was able, no trouble. He was able to even lift up a cup within 24 hours. You're not going to grip it. Just set yourself up to succeed and not fail. Don't try to do that stuff. Because the worst thing is you go to drop that cup and you try to catch it, and then it's,
ow. Right.
But you could do it. If you can do it.
One of your tips that's really helped me is the ice packs after I get my shots. What is the purpose of the ice packs after your shots?
So when they inject right into this, right where your canal is there, that is insert.
Sorry, it's the dog. Sorry. I don't know if I can do that.
Okay, so when you're injecting into that canal, you're aggravating it. You're making it even more angry. And then they're shooting your steroid in there. And by doing that, think of a steroid as a calming effect anyways. That's what it's going to do. It's going to calm down all that irritation that's through here. By doing that ice, as soon as you get done you want to start it usually within an hour and a half, that ice is going to completely cool it all down. It's going to make it so your movements are going up, and you essentially, where that needle irritates is what you're doing. You're kind of, my husband described it as you're sealing it back up, even though it's not going to leak back out, but the ice freezes it. So it seals it back up. And that's kind of the easiest way to put it. But by doing that, it also allows them steroids to sit in there instead of completely just, they're going to flow, of course, but it just allows it to sit a little longer. And that was something I learned myself. That was trial and error for my own. And then I tell everybody, my surgeon, even when he does his stuff in the beginning with the younger group of people who maybe not, they're blind-eyed, they actually even tell them that, since I've been with him for all those years. But it worked on my husband. It's worked on Holly. Ice your injection site. Do it. You won't.
Yes, it's an hour and a half drive for me. So I actually put ice in a cooler or ice packs in a cooler. And then I have little, this is where the farm comes in. I have zip ties, and I zip tie the ice pack to my wrist for the hour and a half drive home so that it is on there immediately after my shots. And that made a huge difference. I had function sooner after the shots.
Yep. The first time that I did it, I iced one and not the other because I got injections in both wrists the very first time. And I iced my dominant hand, but not my left hand. And went to work that night. My shots were 9 a.m. I worked a 6 p.m. shift that night. And I could not grip nothing, but the hand that I iced, since it allowed it to calm itself down, I had use of that hand. I mean, I walked around kind of goofy looking that night, but then everyone since then, and I did shots at that point. I did them every 4 weeks for, oh man, I got 9 months out of it. So I was getting them free. And so it's completely beneficial. You don't have to, it's not mandatory. It's not going to mess your shot up. It's not going to make it last longer, but it's just going to give you use again quicker.
Right. Like if you need to get back to work or something. Not that we would do that. And just a side note, the dog is fine. He's just old and he does that sometimes, but he's fine. So for those that are new nail professionals, they're just getting started in this, their hands aren't cramping up, falling asleep, and all that good stuff. What are some prevention exercises? I know I learned how to do this, and I've been doing nails for over 20 years, so it's reasonable that I'm starting to get into the carpal tunnel. And I've done this for years and years and years, so I feel like that's what helped me put it off. Another one is doing this. Are there others that you're aware of beyond those?
Your thumbs. You want to do your pinchies.
Okay. So going back and forth.
And do these as soon as you get out of bed, whatever your routine is, as you're walking to the bathroom, you're walking to the coffee pot, whatever you are. Reason is you're in shut and then you're allowing it to open. The other is you take your thumbs, you're in, and then you hyperextend them back and then pull them. Yep. And you want to go far. That just allows this will build up your little chicken wing a little better. As far as muscle. You can also get, I don't have any right now because my husband, they're in a tote and I couldn't find them before. You can get little hand exercise. It's a little click type motion and it's to make it stronger. And by doing that will help keep this muscle open a little further so that it's not through here. And then the other one that's really good is to just after every client, rub into the motion. You want to go 5 in and then you want to pull 5 out. Okay. And then strip helps to strip the connective tissue to make it so that it relaxes. And another one is whatever you do at the end of the day, you shower, you take a bath. The Epsom salt, once again, you can also get Epsom salt lotion I know Amazon sells it. You can get some of your health food stores. I get mine at a local health food store, but Epsom salt lotion is actually on Amazon. When COVID happened, we couldn't get it because the health food store that we went to is super local and they shut down. But so I was able to get it on Amazon. But I actually have a lady at work that's using it every day because she's trying to buy herself some time. But she puts it on multiple times a day because I work with her, so she's medical, herself, and it'll be a big ordeal. She needs to be off. But that helps with your inflammation as well. And then make sure, as soon as you can, you drop them hands, get them movements going, and then try not to get yourself in a movement where you're going to pinch it off. My biggest thing when I first got diagnosed is when I would sleep, I would let my hand drop like this. So then therefore I was constantly pinching that off. You can get braces that are soft and don't have this steel shank. I would put this, we can't guarantee, you guys as nail professionals, salon professionals, that you're going to get carpal tunnel, but any of us who do stuff repeatedly, like I talked about, the waitress, the hostesses, nurses, and when you're pumping up your blood pressure cuffs, you're gonna get strain on that. So throwing the braces on, even if it's only a couple times a week when you go to bed, even if those soft ones, and those soft ones are way cheaper than the metal ones, but even those, I want to throw that in. I don't want you to worry about price, but most of the braces are only like $25 or less. You do not need a prescription to get them, and if you do start that, that can take off up to 4 weeks of needing to diagnose because you've already been in them for a month. That was something we did with my husband. I had him in him for like 4 weeks before he finally let me make the appointment when we went up to ortho that night. And so with that, and then otherwise, they're little, okay, so there's a little hand that, where you cross your fingers like this, and then you can put your fingers up. So doing that, you're also flexing your palm at the same time, but you're working on kind of some of the finer movements, and then open and then expand this way and then drop them to your side. It's kind of a quick motion, but it helps open everything up just like you did. You just moved your neck at the same time. So that also helps with the movement because those same ligaments, as we goes further up your neck and stuff as well. But those, I do that whole motion. That is something I do as soon as I get up every morning, the little finger motions and then the expansion. And it's helped. I made my husband do it. And he actually even told me I was right, that it did help. So it may help. Might be onto something. Oh, I want to, for those of you going to go and pick up the braces, your local mart will have them in 2 different locations. If you go back to the sporting goods section, you will find a whole host of other braces. In fact, at my local Walmart, where I grabbed my quick ones for my husband, the good ones that have those steel shanks were actually back in the sporting goods, to where like the athletic workout stuff was. And I believe the same is true at Target as well.
Can you show the finger movements again?
Yes. So hands together.
Kind of lean back from the camera a little bit. There you go.
So then you move them this way. And then back up. And then you can do 2 or 3 at a time, but then you want to expand and slowly push. And then drop your shoulders down at the same time. And that does the full circuit. That was actually something I learned in the very, very beginning physical therapy. Yes. And the expansion is to try and do them 1 finger at a time and not doing multiples, because that works on the fine motor and fighting the movement to try and compensate yourself. My husband at first could not do the whole lay down with his. He would only get to about here.
It hurts. I can feel this finger all the way up to my elbow.
Yes. Yeah.
Does not feel pretty. So what are the differences between carpal tunnel, joint pain, and arthritis? Is that something we can tell the difference between, or is it going to take that medical diagnosis?
If you have 1, 2, or all 3 going on at the same time, you won't be able to differentiate it. But so carpal tunnel typically, involves these fingers here, and then this part of your thumb and into that. Now, arthritis is, them joints are, the fingers are kind of stiff to use. That wrist is kind of harder to rotate. And the joint pain itself, when you push on that joint, it will cause pain for you. That is direct pushing on the joint. That's not here, because rubbing this little fatter part of your finger would actually flare my carpal tunnel. It would make it hurt. But if you actually pushed on the joint, I don't have, so I'll do it on my left hand because I do have the carpal tunnel on my left hand. So squeezing that fat part, there we go. That does not trigger my wrist at all. But if I was to bend my fingers and pinch that, I do feel some tension through there. But that's the fat part. So carpal tunnel, potential. Arthritis, that's the actual joints, and you can do it on all of your knuckles through your hand. But that's pushing on them, And then a lot of times in arthritis, they do feel warm to the touch. They can get a little bit of redness going on. In fact, something for the nail side with that movement of, holding that brush with the arthritis side, pay attention to see, is the rest of your hand feel one temp? But man, that joint does kind of feel a little bit warmer. Same as the redness. You can track that. They will always, they're not going to just rush and go straight to the carpal tunnel diagnosis when you guys go. They will
get x-rays of your hands.
Yep. You got to start at the simple first, which is, does she have a bone spur? Does he have a little spot has been broken before in his hand? So they rule that out too. And that's just part of the process. You think least invasive, the simple side of it before you go into the bigger, which is the electrode testing that they do to confirm diagnosis with carpal tunnel. But so that's the simple. Arthritis goes into those joints. It is in the joint spaces. It's not just it's on all the parts that are bendy. So the tingling typically is not arthritis. The tingling is an electrocurrent problem of some kind. Then your joint pain and stiffness, that can mean other diagnoses. That's why you want to start out at your regular doctor with your thyroid blood, because they're probably going to draw other blood for you too, just to make sure that, there isn't other things that are easy to pop up. Even though, yes, carpal tunnel itself, it's a very easy procedure, but we got to start on the medical side before we get to the ortho side.
And the bone spurs and arthritis are really common through here for nail professionals. So they're going to do, the first thing they did for me was an x-ray. And then at the next appointment, I got to play with the electricity. And for those of you that weren't here in the beginning, if you want to see the blogs of the journey and see like a picture of the steroid injection, a picture from the EMG, right? EMG. Yep. I always get that and EKG mixed up. So a picture from the EMG and all of that jazz, then the links are in my bio for the blogs 1, 2, and 3 on the carpal tunnel journey so that you can see those. Please leave your experiences and your questions in the comments so that others can get an idea from you, or so that we can answer your questions. Do you guys have any questions while you're here on the live for Nurse Megan tonight? Sorry about the dogs. I'm house sitting. Did you see how funny Gus looked all shaved? All right, doesn't look like they have any questions. So I'm guessing either A, we explained everything really well, or B, they're going, oh geez. Hey, Kathy, I didn't see you sneak in. Oh, Bahamas. How are you?
Oh, let's go over time-wise for how long that are being off. One in the background, you're sitting there thinking, oh great, this is me. These girls didn't say how long I needed to be off. I'm not gonna have a job anymore. I'm gonna lose all my clients. What am I gonna do? So yes, you will need your time off. They want you to be off typically. If any of you are listening that are non-nail type people,
Barbados. Sorry.
You're fine. You do a lot to where you're doing computer work. You can start doing typing to where as long as you're not keeping your, your palms on the counter or on the keyboard rest. You can actually keep them up. You can start typing within 3 days. In fact, if you are just a normal size office type job to where you can take a little bit in between certain things, the surgeon that I go to, he'll even let you go back within 24 hours, as long as you have somebody at work that can, compensate for some things you can't do. That motion.
We probably should not go back within 24 hours.
No, you're not going to be able to. You'll want to consider, honestly, legitimately, at least a week, but you will know. You don't want to start. You will have the typical way for carpal tunnel right now is they do an incision. It's only about this big. By that, it's about an inch and a half. It goes right here in your palm. And with that, you will have a suture. You'll have one stitch that goes through, and that is in there from anywhere from 5 to 10 days. My husband just had his done, but he has the, very thick, calloused hands. He works in manufacturing. So, with that harder, thicker sole of the hand, he needed the full 10 days for his suture to come out. So it was nothing, movement wise. He could grip a pin, by day 7. So I would estimate, to be real talk, 10 to 14 days from the salon.
And then maybe do half days versus 12 to 14-hour days.
Yes. That also be to where, you don't have to take it all at once. You could do a couple clients in the morning, a couple clients in the afternoon, if that's something that works for you, because that would give time to rest it in between. You have a big, bold, bulky bandage on for your first, anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. My husband's came off 48. Mine, I was in an actual cast back then, because mine's been 2013 to now. So 9 years ago, I had a cast on for 10 days. It was horrific. But his was not done by the same surgeon. So that just shows you how much the science side has evolved in technology. And then, no pain meds. That's up to you. My husband needed one pain pill, and that was his first, his block that they use, because they don't give you anesthesia. They just put a block in, and you get to actually be awake. You're not mentally there.
Get to watch.
You can technically, if you want. A lot of surgeons will completely let you, if that's something you wanted to do. There is some new technology that's being developed to where it's done with a laser. And that is being done close. I know it's being done in Nebraska right now in the research phase. I know somebody that does labor and delivery as an actual OB doctor, and they just had it done 2 months ago. And she was able to go back and deliver babies within a week.
Wow.
So technology is great, but don't hold out for it. You got it. If you need it done, you need it done. But in the effect, if you did wait, chose the worst hand, you could potentially, new technology could be there for you. So anticipate for the salon minimum 10 to 14 days. And then it might be a little bit longer for those of you that are thinking you're going to take the plunge and do both hands at one time. You may need a little bit more because you don't have a hand to compensate with. That's why, personally, I would not. But if you're going to do you do you. But just know that you're going to be at least 14 days. And then just remember, you're not going to break it. You're not going to break it open. You're not going to bust it. It's just going to hurt. And then you will start, soon as your suture comes out, you can start your full use. Typically, you don't go to physical therapy. It's just any hand work you can do to make it move. The best thing to do is play with that slime that the kids like. And Play-Doh is an advancement that you'll play with later. That's actually something you can do now to help your hands, is warm Play-Doh in the microwave, so it's a little bit more pliable, and just sit there and roll it. Play with it. Actual fidget spinners that are real popular right now is beneficial as well. That's something you can do now as a prevention state to keep them, all the movements going. But by doing all of that, it's also what you put into it once you get the release. You could ask for one consult with physical therapy after, and insurance typically will cover that. And then that way you can get back to the salon faster. For those, where you don't have, you own your own business, or they don't offer any kind of paid medical. That way you get there quicker. Perfect. And that's what I did. So I could get back to work quicker back then, even though I had paid time off. I did one visit, learned everything, and then I could probably be the paid person now, with teaching all this stuff. My husband did everything. We did not need a consult for him, and he was back to his manufacturing job in 2 weeks.
Nice. Sharon, please forgive me for getting the island wrong. Kathy says occasionally she has stiff knuckles, but she got a hand exercise from a hand doctor on a flight, and that has worked wonders.
Awesome. Awesome. So with your knuckles, does it go into your wrist at all, or does it typically stay in those knuckles?
We'll let her. And she says she would totally watch the surgery. See, anytime I'm in surgery, I'm like, this is my opportunity to take a nap, uninterrupted. So I am out. They start the countdown. I'm like, I don't need a countdown. I'm out. Peace. She says, no, it's just in her knuckles.
Good. So that is also touches on a great point is, you could, in order to help buy yourselves time in the salon, to set up so you got it, you've been diagnosed, is you can ask if you can get the referral recommendation to go see physical therapy, because they could prolong you even further. So yeah, that's a great point to bring up. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but I'm glad it's in your knuckles. So the knuckle side is potentially the joint side, and the joint responds a little bit better usually to the exercises, versus trying to get this open, because once that's pinched, there's no way to open it without going in and opening it.
She said she did have tendonitis in the left wrist shortly after she started nails, and a wrist brace worked great. Should we keep sleeping in these after surgery if we do the surgery route?
That is totally up to you. It's not going to hurt whatsoever, because you will develop scar tissue in there. And by having it open, that's what it's going to do, is help to kind of force that open. But they don't recommend to, and they don't recommend against. And it's usually worn for just comfort. My husband he loved his enjoyment after, because he did not have to go through putting that big bulky thing on, smacking himself in the face. But it's just like anything else. It goes for the comfort side. So if it still provide comfort for you, then do it. But you don't need the one with the steel shank anymore.
Okay. So the softer one would be sufficient to just kind of keep that issue from happening again if you're still kind of midway through your career. Perfect. All right. Any other questions for Nurse Megan? We'll give him just a minute because I know there's a slight delay.
No problem.
I know there's a delay because of the reaction to Gus. Oh, goodness. Thank you guys so much for joining. It's been awesome to see everyone. Thanks, Kathy. Thanks, Sharon. It's been good to see everyone. And if you're watching this as a recording, feel free to reach out with the questions. Oh my gosh, he makes me die every time he does that. It's ridiculous. It's like old man attention noise, I swear. Oh, he is a really old man. And I am so thankful to have had you guys. Thank you so much for your time, Megan. I have a treat for you at your next appointment.
No problem. Don't hesitate.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer anything. I'm on the medical side, my own side, at my husband's side. I'm on Holly's side.
Right. She's been through it herself and as a bystander.
And I'm very open. And it's nothing to be scared of. Don't let that, keep you from not doing it. The surgery, it's still surgery. I understand. I get it. But you get your life back. I was able to do stuff that I hadn't been able to do. It totally was worth it. And then just like once Holly does hers, I can't wait to tell y'all she done opened a bottle by herself again.
I know, right? Hey, I can open a bottle after my shots. Thank you.
That's true. It's good. See, them shots work great.
Well, and one side note is I have enough arthritis on the x-ray, and then I also have the joint pain. And one of the reasons we opted to go 4 shots for a little while was so that I could differentiate what was carpal tunnel pain versus what was joint pain and what was arthritis pain, so that I knew if there was enough pain eliminated from the carpal tunnel to be worth doing the surgery. So that was, to me, another advantage of going to a hand specialist, is he knew to kind of separate those options for me and pinpoint that out instead of, oh yeah, you need surgery. Like, he's not pushing the surgery on me at all. He's like, let's weigh these and see how you feel. He's really He doesn't look down like, oh, you know, like he really just gives me reasonable options and works with what I do.
Yep. Yep. So that's another, just want to touch on that with finding the good surgeon. Um, Good surgeon's not going to push you. They're going to tell you, they're going to be honest. Hey, you might not are getting to the point where you might lose some function. You might not get that back.
Mm-hmm.
When we got my husband in, that was, my husband had the same surgeon that I did. And he said, he goes, well, when are we doing this, bud? He said, you're to the point where I can inject you, but you're going to schedule one of these today. I don't want you to leave my office without it. And I was like, oh, we just met this guy. This is the very first day, because we went to that work, the walk-in. But I want the honesty, you know. And then, so for mine, he let me get time because he knew that I wasn't going to take it off if I couldn't get, because I couldn't do that at that time. And he laid it out. You know, let's work through it. And then, but then again, he can also do that same side of, you know, you have to do this. We got to get it done. And then it wasn't ever pressure. I've never felt pressure by him. Neither is anybody else that I've sent him to. I know lots of people using the same surgeon in his office. His people that he works with is the same. But it's because they do it all day. You know, they don't have to just do hands on a Tuesday because they're doing hips on a Thursday.
Right.
Won't have that pressure. That's from my working with them professionally as a nurse. I've worked on the surgery side of the ortho side of things. And then as the patient, they don't push, they put it out there for you to make the decision, because it is ultimately your life. It is your hand. You can push it off if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really liked being able to differentiate, because now I can tell, like, all right, that is gonna make a pretty significant difference. Thanks, Sharon.
Like, oh, I can do things.
Right? Like, who knew? Plus, like, it's really difficult to do things now when your hands are always asleep. You drop everything now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap it up so that this is just barely under an hour before Instagram kicks us off, because I don't know if they still have the hour timer or not, but better safe than sorry. Love you guys. Thanks for joining us. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time. Mwah.